Welcome people, and today it's me KMD. Welcome to another Daily Daylight video. I am recording this while laying on my chair because I honestly don't care enough to make a lot of bullet points for this video, since this is just kinda news, but also kind of an analysis. So Behaviour released the stats for the last 3 months, from January to March, in terms of kill rate and pick rate, and there's some Dredge stuff in there that I really want to talk about. So let's get into it. So the most picked killers in the game are at the moment Hunters in low MMR and Blight in high MMR, which is pretty understandable considering that Hunters is the easiest killer in the game to pick up, in my opinion, next to Wraith and Trapper, and Blight is the best killer in the game. So logically high MMR is going to pick the most sweaty shit, because why not? Why not be unique? Anyway, and if we go to kill rates, both in low and high MMR, Freddy is the most deadly killer because nobody really knows how to counter him after his rework. He's almost at 70%. And I'm not saying he's uncounterable, but just not much people figured it out in the first 3 months after his rework, how to really counter his new power. So that's completely expectable that he would have 70% kill rate, and I don't think Behaviour should do anything about Nightmare. Just give us more time to learn counterplay, and if after 2 quarters of the year we will not be able to counter him, then do something about it. Because last time someone was on the top of the kill rate stats, you gutted her to death, so give her more time, I guess. And here's the interesting thing. Dredge is the 5th most deadly killer in low MMR. Now, the question is, first off, what does it mean? Second off, what has changed since the last time we saw stats and kill rates? And because Dredge was in both recent killer stats drops in terms of kill rate, so what should we take from this? I think it's pretty obvious to say that Dredge is a noob stomper. Dredge is a killer that's kinda hard to understand at the beginning unless you get downed in 2 times using when the killer is using his power. And also, let's be honest, as Kosir said, also Freddy main, I'm gonna leave the links to Kosir in the description because they probably took the killer stats topic way more professionally than I just did, because I'm focusing on Dredge while they are kind of focusing on everything, but mostly Freddy because they're a Freddy main, so make sure to check them out if you want someone to talk about the other stats. But what should we take from this for Dredge? As I said, most of the casuals in low MR, let's be honest, they're console players, and so the lighting of Nightfall is pretty dark, and if you're playing on console, there's a high chance you're playing on a TV. Sunlight plus Nightfall, you cannot see anything. And since console doesn't really have filters aside of monitor and TV settings, I can see why Dredge's kill rate is really high in low MMR. Especially since, as I said earlier, low MMR is really infested with console players, which is not a bad thing. I'm not suggesting that there's PC superiority here, just hashtag not a thing, Should we as Dredge players be worried? I genuinely don't know. Since the last killer stats drop, Dredge had 61% kill rate and Dredge got buffed, because that was the drop was, if I remember correctly, before All Things Wicked came out. After the buff, his kill rate in low MMR, or I think it was even in general MMR, because if I remember correctly, the last killer stat drop was in overall MMR, not in specific MMR, and this time you have a split for overall. Not overall, for low and high MMR, yeah. If we assume that the 61% was mostly in low MMR, Dredge's kill rate went up by 4%. Should we expect Dredge nerfs? I don't think so. I hope not, but I don't think they would do that personally. If they do, then wow. But I think we can start expecting some quality of life and accessibility changes to Dredge, as I suggested earlier, making Nightfall less overstimulating for people, removing the audio, and maybe making it look like Lights Out. So you see more, but also you see less at the same time. Like it's not as dark, but there's like an actual like view distance limit carved in stone, like in Nights Out, when there was like a fog just covering your view, you know. So I think that they could probably do something like that, just address accessibility. And while they're at it, they may tweak some numbers. I think like a big part of Dredge's lethality in Lomemar also comes with the fact that that Remnant probably is very lethal, since players don't really pay attention, just run into the Remnant, which gives Dredge free hits most of the time if the Dredge pays attention. So I'm also worried they might touch Gloaming Cold Speed, for example, or like the time for the Remnant to appear. I wish they don't, because I personally believe these two stats actually should be buffed to accommodate for high MMR players being less potentially mind gameable. So we should just get a bit more like faster movement in tiles as Dredge. I would appreciate that if Dredge was like able to move faster and place down Remnant a bit more. That would be very cool. So yeah, like I genuinely don't know if they're going to touch Remnant because of these changes. I wish they don't. I wish they like actually buff it, just to like accommodate for, like, as I said, for high MMR. I don't know. Like, I hope they would just like address Dredge's accessibility issues if they're like going to touch them at all, and if they're going to change balance of Dredge, I think like the only reasonable thing they could do is buff Dredge. He's in this interesting spot in which like there's nothing problematic about him that needs to get gutted, outside of like Nightfall VFX and SFX, but also he needs some stuff to get buffed. So if they're going to touch Dredge at all, based on this kill rate stat, I hope it's only on the up incline to address some issues with like overwhelmingness of Dredge, and you know. And I also hope that they do something about the tutorial, because if you pay attention to these stats, you can notice from bottom to the top there's a new killer that was reworked, and most low MMR players probably don't know how to face them, hence the 70% kill rate. We have Vecna somehow, who has 10 items, 2 items per magic spell, and 2 special Vecna items. So he has map killer items and has 10 of these items, and has map props. We have twins who are never played, so nobody even knows how to counter twins, even in high MMR. They're like top 3 or top 2. I think they're top 3 if I remember correctly. So XD. We have Sadako, another killer with map props, which is interesting. As I said earlier, map props and like killer specific items are very problematic for low MMR because people don't know what to do about them. And then we have Dredge, who is very overstimulating and has a really strong anti-loop based on mind games that low MMR players just don't know how to mind game. So I am seeing a pattern here, a pattern of the game not explaining how to be played. So I hope like based on this information, they go ahead and explain, like do something about the tutorial, because like I had seen a lot of people complaining about the tutorial. I was one of the people who complained about the tutorial and the game manual. I wish that this turns off a bulb in their head, in the head of behavior devs, to actually do something about the tutorial, because like if the top 5 killers in the game are badly explained or are complicated to face, I don't think the loading tooltips that show in only 3 games against a killer are going to help. This is my opinion on the new stats that were dropped by Behaviour on Twitter today. Thank you everyone so much for watching, and let's hope that these stats will not actually harm Dredge in any way, but actually will bring attention to the Dredge's issues and bring attention to the issues with the new player experience to make it a bit better without gutting killers. Case in point, Skull Merchant. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye, internet.